It was raining heavily when Eleanor Graves stumbled into the narrow alley. The dim sign above the door read, "Curiosities and Relics." Inside, the air smelled of dust and iron. An old man stood behind the counter, his eyes pale and strange. "You seek something that remembers pain?" he asked softly. Eleanor frowned. "I'm just looking." But her gaze fell upon a small, crimson candle, carved with veins that looked alive.
The shopkeeper's wrinkled hands trembled as he placed the candle in a box. Once lit, it never dies until it drinks blood. Eleanor laughed nervously. "You mean wax, right?" The old man didn't answer. He only stared, whispering, "The flame knows your name." When she looked away, the candle flickered, though no wind blew. At home, lightning cracked across the night sky. Eleanor placed the blood-red candle on her table and struck a match. The flame burst to life, bright and violent, and the air filled with the scent of copper. She watched as the wax began to melt, thick, dark, and red. She muttered, "Looks like blood." Then she heard it, a faint heartbeat. As the candle burned, the lights in her apartment flickered. Something cold brushed the back of her neck. She turned. No one. But in the reflection of the window, she saw a figure standing right behind her, tall, black, and headless. When she spun around, the room was empty. The candle flame leaned toward her, as if watching.
That night, Eleanor dreamed she was drowning in blood. Dozens of candles floated around her, whispering her name. From the red water, pale hands reached out and dragged her down. Before she could scream, her eyes snapped open. She was in bed, gasping. The candle was still burning on her table, even though she had blown it out.
The next morning, Eleanor noticed something horrifying. A bloody fingerprint had appeared on the candle's base. She wiped it. It smeared real blood. Shaking, she checked her hands. No cuts. When she looked back, the candle flame flared higher, and she swore she heard it whisper, "Feed me." Eleanor couldn't stop thinking about the candle. She searched online and found a legend, the candle that burns in blood. Created by monks who sealed their sins in wax, it demands sacrifice to stay lit. Victims were said to vanish, their blood turning into the candle's fuel. Eleanor slammed her laptop shut, laughing nervously. "Just superstition," she whispered. But the candle pulsed once, as if it disagreed. Her cat, Milo, hissed at the candle that evening, fur standing on end. "Relax, it's just light," Eleanor said. Then the flame flickered sharply, and the cat shrieked, a horrible, strangled sound. When Eleanor rushed to him, Milo lay lifeless. His eyes were open, and his fur was soaked in blood. The candle's flame burned brighter than ever, casting red light on her trembling hands. After burying Milo, Eleanor tried to sleep, But soft whisperings filled the apartment, like voices speaking from inside the walls. She pressed her ear to the plaster. "Eleanor, light us all." She stumbled back, horrified, as a faint red glow leaked through the cracks in her wall, like fire hidden behind the wallpaper. Desperate, she returned to the antique shop, but it was gone. Only an empty lot remained. No building, no sign. Panicking, she looked around until she saw the old man across the street, standing under a black umbrella. "You lit it, didn't you?" he said. "Please, how do I stop it?" she cried. He shook his head. "You can't stop what feeds. You can only offer it another." Then he vanished in the rain. Eleanor's nose began to bleed that night as she stared at the candle. Drops of her blood hit the wax and sizzled. The flame danced wildly, whispering in a child's voice, "More." Terrified, she grabbed a knife and cut her finger. The flame flared so bright that shadows crawled across the ceiling, forming shapes of screaming faces. She dropped the knife and screamed as the candle laughed. The next morning, the police knocked on her door. Her neighbor, Mr. Hall, had vanished overnight. They found blood under his door and drag marks in the hallway. Eleanor's hands shook as she lied. "I haven't seen anything." When they left, she turned toward her table and gasped. The candle was taller than before, and the wax on its base looked like a face. Eleanor decided to destroy it. She threw the candle into her fireplace and lit the gas. But instead of melting, it began to bleed. Thick red liquid flowed down the stone. Then the fire went out, snuffed by something unseen. When she reached for the candle, it was ice cold, and engraved across it now were the words, "You are mine." The city power went out. Her apartment was swallowed by darkness. Only the blood candle burned, casting shadows that moved on their own. Eleanor tried to flee, but the door handle dripped blood and refused to turn. Every window showed the same reflection, her standing still, holding the candle, smiling though she wasn't. The whispers grew louder. "Let it drink, become the flame."
The next day, the police broke into Eleanor's apartment after complaints of a terrible burning smell. Everything was untouched, except for a puddle of dried blood on the floor. In the center sat the red candle, still burning. Inside its translucent wax, a faint outline of a human face could be seen. Eyes closed, mouth frozen mid-scream. When the officer tried to blow it out, the flame whispered softly, "Eleanor Graves," and the light flickered, alive.